welcome to the art room. I'm glad you could join us today. Today it's all about the Sky Flyer. Meet you down on the ground and we'll make one together. Oh, hey there. Boy, am I glad to be back in the art room again after all that flying. Hey, today in the art room, a very special project for us. We call this the Sky Flyer. It's a model aircraft made out of foam board. We've used a couple of quarters as the weight. What a terrific flyer it is. I'll show you how to design an aircraft from beginning to end, and then finally we'll go out and we'll fly it and see how she performs. Also along the way we'll learn about aircraft terms, wing, fuselage, tail, stabilizer, rudder, all kinds of neat things like that. So stick around. I think you're going to enjoy this episode. Okay, hey, welcome back to the art room. I'm so excited to show you this project because I just love things that fly. I experimented with a lot of different designs, and this is what I came up with for us to build in the art room today. We're calling it the Sky Flyer. Is that a corny name? Sure it is, but you know, if you know me very well, you know that's what I do best, being corny. But it's a great airplane. I've been flying it around in the backyard a lot. You can see it's kind of getting a little bit loved here because we've been flying it around so much. And the great thing about it is you can build the whole thing for about $1, and that includes the wings and everything that you need to make it. We're going to be using some low temperature hot glue in a minute. I'll show you where about my low temperature hot glue gun. And then for weight, to make the flyer fly a little bit better, we've got a couple of quarters on each side. And my Sky Flyer is ready to launch. And at the end of the second video, we'll go out in the backyard or maybe up to the field and fly it around. And I'll show you how great a flyer it really is. That being said, we're going to split this video into two parts. The first part will design the different parts of the airplane itself. And while it's true that we could download this airplane kit from any number of places on the internet, since we're artists, we always do our own work. So the great thing about when you're done making this project today, you'll be able to design an airplane all on your own without the help of anybody's pattern or anything like that. That's the way we do it here in Mr. Shay's art room. So we're going to be designing our very own airplane from scratch as soon as I get the camera oriented here. Right, all right, that looks pretty good. So let's get into this. I started with a drawing sheet. This is the same drawing sheet I drew my cartoons on last time. 17 inches long by 14 inches tall, I guess you'd want to say. A lot of different orientations would work. After all of the studies I've done about different airplane designs, it's amazing the stuff that really does fly if you have the basic parts. So we're going to do actually these parts today. We'll start off by making the fuselage pattern, and we'll trace that in foam core. Then we'll make the wing. This is my wing pattern. And we'll make a stabilizer, an elevator. Those are the parts we're going to need. So let's get into it. If you have a pencil, you're all set to go. So let's take our paper, and I'm going to fold it in half, the long direction, like that. Fold it in half. Grab my scissors, and I'm going to cut paper on the fold line. Gosh, I love making airplanes. Okay, and we'll set that part aside for a minute. We're going to need some spare parts after a little bit. Set that aside. Okay, this part we're going to use for our fuselage, it's called. That's the main body of the airplane. So let's begin by folding that paper in half, the thin direction, like that, crush it down. Okay. Alright, and we'll cut that on the fold line. Got it. Okay, that's going to be my wing pretty soon, so we'll lay that off to the side. Fuselage is my favorite part to draw. I just love doing this part just because it's just so graceful, and airplanes are just so graceful. They're so beautiful. Before we do that, though, let's come to the tail. Now we're going to, at the end, we're going to shorten our paper just a bit and fold in what appears to be the best square you can make. Okay, does that look about like a square? Yeah. I'll fold that down just like that, and I'll take my scissors, and on the fold line we'll cut that off, and we're going to use that part for our tail, our vertical stabilizer, in other words, and we'll hook that onto our pattern. So we're ready to draw our fuselage pattern. Y'all set? Here we go. So I'll come to the top here, and now let's start here. Let's go on the edge, and we'll start by making the sketching out the nose of our plane. Okay, kind of a rounded nose. Come back this way. All right. Now I'm going to dip way down here like that, and I'm going to stretch this line all the way to the end, but a little bit up in the air there, kind of changing the angle just a little bit, make it a little more graceful shape. But you know, I've seen so many airplane fuselage shapes. If yours isn't exactly like this one, don't worry, it's going to fly. It's going to fly. It's a flying machine. So up here now, let's bring that a little bit more across the top of the page. So in a minute we're going to have, let's get the flyer back here. In a minute we're going to have a wing that has a, sorry about that, let's focus that a little better. We're going to have a wing that's got a curve on the inside after we bend that angle. Okay, so we're going to accommodate for that wing with a hump right here, and I'm going to draw a kind of a semicircle right there, and that's where our wing is going to be hooking on with some hot glue. Okay, and now we'll stretch this back, tapering it to the end, like that. Our fuselage. Great. Okay. All right. So for our part of our flyer that has the rudder on the end, we get that, the horizontal stabilizer, we call that, with the elevator. And when you're flying your flyer later, you can adjust the flying characteristics by bending this elevator. We're going to need a place to notch that into our airplane. So take this square right here. It's kind of funny, since this is down on an angle, you'll have a tendency to draw a line that's not very straight. So it'll help if you use this as a little ruler, put that up there like that, and across the edge so it appears to be square. Go about halfway up the end of the fuselage and draw a line like that. Okay, so that's it. That's it for our fuselage. I'm going to cut out that shape. fuselage of our plane. Looks great. Okay, so we'll set that aside. Let's get this piece that we cut in half a moment ago, and this just happens to be exactly the right size for our wing. So we'll round off the corners a bit. Just knock those corners off. Okay. How you doing out there? I hope you're doing okay. Really pretty simple. Now later on, when we glue the wing to the top of our airplane body, the fuselage, we're going to want to know where the center is. So what we'll do here is just fold our wing in half. Okay, make a little crease like that, and then we know where the center point of our wing is, and we can mark that on our wing when we cut it out of our foam core. Remember foam core? This is some of the stuff that we're going to use. I've got a brand new sheet of it I'll bring out here in a minute, but same thing that we bought at the dollar store and used for our boomerangs. If you haven't seen the boomerang episode, boy, make sure you go back and watch that one. Shameless commercial there, Mr. Shay. Alright, so left to do is the stabilizer. We made the wing, we've got the fuselage ready to go. Oh, wait a minute, I'm going ahead of myself. I got to go back and do the stabilizer and hook that on. So this square of paper that we saved, that we cut off, what we'll do is either Elmer's glue it or tape it. I'm going to use a little bit of Elmer's glue because I have it handy here. If you have a glue stick, that's okay too. Okay, put a little glue there. Come back to the back of your fuselage and line it up here and stick it on. Okay, so now we want to determine a graceful tail, vertical stabilizer we call that. So once it's glued on, now I'm going to do a little bit of what we do best, a little freehand drawing. Let's see, does that look good? About that tall? Come across there like that. Some people like to do fancy tails on theirs, stabilizers. I'm going to stick kind of basic since this is our first plane. So after I draw that, then I will cut. And, okay, so I've really got a neat looking airplane pattern going so far, don't you think? Yeah, I really like that. So the fuselage is complete and the wing is complete, and now we need to do our horizontal stabilizer. That's the part that will slide in to the slit that we drew here. We'll be sliding that into that slit. So let's make one of those. I've got a scrap left from the first half of our paper, and I think what I'm going to do is just bend over a bit of it. How much? About that much. Should we be measuring? No, we're artists. Come on, give me a break. So let's cut that tail off of there, and that is going to be our what are we calling it? Horizontal stabilizer. Okay, horizontal stabilizer. We need to make some angles on it though, but just like we did with our airplane wing, we can find the center of that stabilizer by folding it. Doesn't matter since this is just the pattern. And this will give us a guide to where to accurately slide that into our airplane when we're done cutting it out. And then it needs a little bit of an angle, don't you think? So there's all different kinds of stabilizers. I made one like this. It kind of looked like a whale's tail. Kind of got a retro look there. You could do something like that. But once again, I'm going to stay kind of basic with this one. So I'll angle. I'm going to take my pencil and just angle it back there. And I'm going to cut a little notch here. I'll show you why I'm doing that. Make a little, that's the folded side. Let me show you what happens when I cut then. So I'll cut that, and then I'm going to cut that little notch out. And the reason I did the notch is because we're going to have elevators right here. Not the elevator you go in the store, but these two pieces right here. You can draw that on there if you want to. It won't make any difference, it's only our pattern. But when we've got our airplane ready to fly, we can change the angle of our flight or the direction of our flight by bending up the elevators like that. Okay? All right. So I think we've got everything together. We've got our fuselage and our wing and our vertical stabilizer hooked on, and our horizontal stabilizer all ready to go. In the next video that we're going to be picking up the action with, let me give you a little bit of a supply list so you'll be ready to build your Skyflyer right off the bat. At the dollar store, I bought a couple of pieces of foam board. This is what we'll be using. Let me show you the label. This one's called Ready Board, white foam board. It only cost $1 for a whole sheet. I could make, wow, a lot of planes out of that great big piece. And lucky me, I found a black piece of Ready Board too. Really like that. What would a black airplane look like? That would be cool. Or maybe I could try to make like Batman's airplane or something like that. Also, it's going to be kind of important that we have a good way to hook our airplane together. I can't imagine any other way of really hooking the flyer together without hot glue. Now, if you're little and you're, I'd say, under the age of 5th grade or maybe 4th grade, a hot glue gun might be kind of a daunting thing for you. And remember, any hot glue gun can burn you, so make sure that you get a hold of an adult at your house before you start hot gluing anything. But I went out today and I found this glue gun. This is the Cool Shot glue gun that I'm going to be using, and it's supposed to be the safest glue gun around. We'll see how hot it gets. Not hot enough to burn you, I'm hoping. And it came with 12 glue sticks. So we'll need a hot glue gun as well to hook our pieces together. I cut out my pieces from foam board with scissors, but if you're a little bit older person, you may want to use a craft knife or an X-Acto knife to do it, but once again we're getting into dangerous territory with sharp things that little children probably shouldn't be handling. So mom or dad or grandma or whoever's there, your teacher, will have to be will have to judge who's ready to use a craft knife. There's also a good way to do it with a steak knife. And a steak knife's a little bit easier and a little bit safer than an X-Acto knife. But they both can cut you. In fact, any of these art supplies that we use can be dangerous in the wrong hands, right? Hey, art's a dangerous business. So I'm going to leave it there for this time, and we'll see you back here next time really quick to finish up the Skyflyer in part number 2, so you don't want to miss it.